At minus 30 degrees Celsius, cold is no longer something you complain about. It's no longer about being uncomfortable. It's no longer about wearing an extra jacket. At this temperature, cold becomes an enemy. The air itself feels sharp. Every breath stings your lungs. Exposed skin freezes in minutes. Metal doesn't just feel cold. It burns like fire. Sound disappears. Movement slows. And survival becomes a daily calculation. Now imagine living your entire life in this environment. No electricity, no weather forecasts, no emergency services, no second chances. Just snow, darkness, and the home you built. For centuries, people in Scandinavia lived in exactly these conditions. Not for a few days, not as an experiment, but for entire lifetimes. Children were born into this cold. Families slept through it. Elders survived it. Inside small wooden cabins. Meanwhile, today, modern homes filled with technology fail during winter storms. Power goes out. Pipes freeze. Walls turn into ice boxes. Entire cities shut down after a few days of extreme cold. So this is not a story about how ancient people were tougher. It's a story about something far more uncomfortable. Why did old Scandinavian cabins work when modern homes often don't? Scandinavia never allowed mistakes. In much of Sweden, Norway, and Finland, winter was not a season. It was a test. Months passed without sunlight. Temperatures stayed below freezing for weeks. Food was scarce. Firewood was precious. If your home failed in this environment, you didn't get sick. You didn't relocate. You didn't renovate later. You froze. This brutal reality filtered out bad ideas very quickly. Homes that leaked heat disappeared. Designs that wasted energy were abandoned. Only what worked survived. That is why Scandinavian cabins weren't built for style or comfort. They were built for consequence. Every beam, every joint, every roof angle was shaped by experience, not theory, not fashion. Survival became architecture. Modern construction often treats wood as weak. Concrete is called strong. Steel is called advanced. Glass is called modern. But Scandinavians chose wood for one reason. It worked. Wood behaves differently than stone or metal. Inside every log are millions of tiny air pockets. Those pockets trap air. Trapped air slows heat transfer. This means wood naturally resists cold. Stone absorbs cold and stays cold. Metal transfers cold instantly. Glass leaks heat constantly. Wood slows all of it. That's why a wooden cabin feels warmer than a stone building, even before fire is lit. This wasn't superstition. It was observation repeated over generations. When people noticed that wooden homes stayed warmer longer, they didn't argue with it. They built everything from wood. Scandinavian cabins were never built thin. Logs were massive, heavy, dense, sometimes more than a foot thick. These walls did something modern walls rarely do. They stored heat. When fires burned inside the cabin, the warmth didn't disappear into the air. It soaked into the logs. The walls became warm themselves. At night, when fires died down and temperatures dropped, those same walls released heat slowly back into the room. This process is known as thermal mass. Modern homes heat fast and cool fast. Old cabins heated slowly, but once warm, they stayed warm. That difference mattered when firewood was limited. That difference mattered when storms lasted days. That difference mattered when lives depended on it. Scandinavian cabins were small by design. Not because people wanted less space, but because they understood efficiency. Every extra square foot meant more air to heat. More walls meant more heat loss. Higher ceilings meant wasted warmth. So cabins stayed compact. Everything happened in one space. Cooking, sleeping, working, living. Heat stayed where people were. Modern homes prioritize openness, large rooms, tall ceilings, empty spaces filled with cold air. They look impressive, they feel expensive, but they are inefficient. Old cabins weren't built to impress, they were built to protect. In Scandinavian cabins, the fireplace was never decoration. It was the heart of the structure. Placed at the center, heat radiated evenly in all directions. No corner stayed cold. No wall went unused. Thick wooden walls absorbed warmth. Chimneys created natural airflow that pulled smoke upward while circulating heat below. This wasn't luck. It was an understanding of physics long before the word existed. Modern fireplaces are often placed against walls for aesthetics. Old fireplaces were placed for survival. The difference is everything. Light was precious in Scandinavia, but heat was more precious. That's why windows were small. Glass is one of the worst materials for insulation. Even modern double-pane windows lose heat quickly. Old cabins used the smallest windows possible, sometimes just enough to tell day from night. There were no panoramic views, no floor-to-ceiling glass, because every inch of glass was a liability. This wasn't about beauty. It was about survival math. Drafts were deadly. So Scandinavian cabins were sealed tightly. Doors were small. Frames were thick. Cracks were filled with moss, fibers, and natural sealants. Once heat entered the cabin, it stayed there. Modern homes are full of invisible leaks. Air moves through walls, sockets, vents, and ceilings. Old cabins trapped warmth like a thermos. They didn't need machines to keep heat inside. They needed understanding. Modern thinking treats snow as a problem, something to remove. something to melt, something to fight. Scandinavian cabins did the opposite. They allowed snow to stay. When snow piled up against cabin walls and roofs, it formed an additional insulating layer. Snow traps air extremely well. That trapped air slowed heat loss from the cabin. So while the outside world dropped to brutal temperatures, the inside stayed surprisingly stable. Steep roofs allowed excess snow to slide off slowly. Heavy beams held the rest safely in place. Snow became part of the design. Modern homes are built to reject nature. Old cabins accepted it and used it. Scandinavian cabins were designed around people. Families slept close together. Activities stayed centralized. Movement, cooking, breathing, all produced heat. In small, enclosed spaces, human body heat mattered. One person produces about as much heat as a small heater. In a tight cabin, that warmth added up quickly. Modern homes isolate people into separate rooms. Warmth is spread thin across empty spaces. Old cabins concentrated everything, including heat. Nothing was wasted. Old Scandinavian cabins had no backup systems because they didn't need them. There were no electrical grids to fail, no gas lines to freeze, no mechanical systems to break. The warmth came from structure, material, and layout. Modern homes depend entirely on technology. When power fails, heating stops. When heating stops, the house becomes unlivable. Old cabins stayed warm because their design never failed. Modern homes are built for speed. Standardized designs are copied across regions with completely different climates. A house designed for mild winters is placed in extreme cold. Thin walls, large windows, open layouts. They rely on machines to compensate for bad design. When those machines stop, the weakness is exposed. Old cabins didn't rely on compensation. They relied on correctness. It's easy to call old cabins primitive, but primitive systems don't survive centuries of extreme testing. Scandinavian cabins were refined through generations of trial and error. Every failure taught a lesson. Every success was repeated. Nothing was accidental. These cabins represent intelligence shaped by consequence, not theory. Modern architecture didn't evolve past old cabins. It moved sideways. It optimized for speed, profit, and appearance, not climate intelligence. The solution isn't abandoning technology. It's combining modern tools with ancient understanding. Natural materials, climate-specific design, smaller, tighter spaces. The future of warm homes may look surprisingly old. At -30 degrees Celsius, technology didn't save people. Understanding did. Old Scandinavian cabins were not lucky. They were correct. The past didn't fail us. We stopped listening to it. And maybe the real question isn't why old cabins stayed warm, but why modern homes forgot how. Before you scroll away, take a second and look around your own home. If the power went out tonight, if the heat stopped working, how long would your house keep you warm? Old Scandinavian cabins didn't survive because of technology. They survived because they were built with understanding. And that knowledge still matters today. If this video made you see homes differently, if it made you question modern design, or if even one idea surprised you, hit the subscribe button. Because this channel isn't about nostalgia. It's about uncovering the forgotten intelligence of the past and what it can still teach us about surviving the future. Comment below, which design choice shocked you the most? The wood? The small spaces? Or the fact that snow actually kept homes warm? Like the video if you believe we don't always need more technology. Sometimes we just need better thinking. And remember, the past didn't fail us. We stopped listening to it. Subscribe, and let's start listening again.